Hey, have you ever felt so nervous or sad that you felt like it was having a physical effect on you? Well, I know what that's like because for the last couple years I've been so anxious and depressed, and it it literally felt like I was in constant fight and flight mode. Then one morning it just got so bad. I woke up feeling like off balance, and I felt like my limbs were numb. I thought for sure I was having a stroke or a heart attack. I thought something must be really, really wrong with me. So I rushed myself to the hospital and they ran all these tests, and the feeling didn't go away. It lasted for months and months and months. And the doctor said there was no cure. It was called vestibular migraines, and like nothing made it go away. I literally felt like my life was over. It was hard for me to walk. I was like walking, holding onto the walls. Like there were times that I felt so dizzy that I had to literally crawl from the bathroom to the living room, or like I couldn't sit at the table with my kids. I couldn't have a meal with my family. I couldn't drive. I couldn't walk. I couldn't play with my kids. I couldn't do anything. And I was just like, I was in my bed under the blankets in the dark because any slight movement would trigger the vertigo, and like if the lights were too light, I'd start getting a migraine. It was so bad, and I'm sitting there Googling symptoms that I might be dying. And that's like what I did every day. I was like, I just could not imagine living like this anymore. And I tried so hard to hide my tears from the kids, and I just felt so bad. I felt like, they deserved a happy mom. They deserved a mom that could play with them, that could be there for them, and that just wasn't me. I don't know what happened to me, but I felt like the shell of the person that I once was. And there was this one day I was sitting there crying on the sofa, and the kids were playing on the floor, and my daughter came up to me, and she was 4 years old at the time, and she was like, "Mommy, are you happy?" And I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to lie to her. And so I looked at her and I was like, "Sweetie, you know what? I'm sad. I'm not happy." And she looked at me, and what she said changed my life. She looked at me with her cute little face, and she said, "Mommy, you can choose to be happy." She said, "Mommy, you can choose to be happy." And I, sorry, I'm crying thinking about it, but like, it was such an incredible thing to come out of a little baby. Like, you can choose to be happy. I thought about that, and I thought, you know what, maybe she's right. Maybe I could choose to be happy. And so I went ahead and I went back to Google. Instead of Googling, symptoms that I might be dying, I started Googling, like, choosing to be happy, and I saw so much research on this, and I went ahead and I ordered like all these books on Amazon, books by positive psychologists and scientists and philosophers. And the more I dove into this subject, the more it opened my eyes. And I started reading things by rabbis and gurus and saints. And then I took a course through Harvard, and I took a course through Yale, and it was incredible. And then a miracle happened because the fog lifted, and I was no longer depressed. I was no longer anxious, and the vertigo went away, and I got my life back. And today I'm able to walk. I'm able to drive. I'm able to sit at the table with my family. I'm able to work out. I can dance in the kitchen with my kids. I mean, I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm able to roller skate. I'm roller skating around my house. I'm jumping in the moon bounce. It's like unbelievable. Like all these things that I couldn't do before because I was so dizzy all the time. I was so nauseous all the time. I was so depressed about it all the time. All of that's gone. I've actually subconsciously been doing this work for the last decade. I've worked with people who have hit rock bottom. I've worked with people in psychiatric hospitals. I've worked with prisoners. I've worked with foster care, with children in the foster care system. I've worked with the most vulnerable populations at their most vulnerable and painful times in their lives. And I used to go around, and every time I connected with a person, I would always ask them if they could even think of one thing that made them happy. And it was a beautiful thing, because I just remember, it'll make me cry thinking about it, but every time I'd ask a person, what is there even one thing that you can remember that made you happy? They would think and think and think, and most of the times, say no, because they're in such a bad state, they couldn't think of anything off the top of their heads. But after a couple of days, it would come to them. And, I saw a girl who was so depressed. I saw her remember that she used to love to dance. And then I saw her a couple of days later, she was doing ballet through the halls of a psychiatric hospital. And she came back to life. She came back to life. There was a boy in the foster care system who I used to work with, and he was having such a tough time. He was having such a tough time. He was he felt like he had no reason to live. And then he said the only thing that brings him joy is skateboarding. But the place where he was wouldn't let him have a skateboard. So he felt like he had nothing left to live for. So I went and I fought. Sorry. I convinced the people that were taking care of him to let him have a skateboard. And he went ahead, and I started taking him to the park, and he would skateboard, and it brought him back to life. It brought him back to life. And I've also worked on the opposite end of the spectrum. I've worked with brides who are about to walk down the aisle. And I've worked with rock stars who are about to go out on stage and perform at major music festivals like Coachella. And I've seen them having panic attacks and, them getting all freaked out and anxious backstage right before their big moment. And they've, I've said the same thing to them. What makes you happy? Is there anything that you can think of right now? It was a few seconds before they're supposed to go out there, and they're having this panic attack. And I'm is there anything that you can think of that makes you happy? And the same effect. It was the same effect. It was they'd think of that thing, they'd hold that thought in their head, and it would just enable them to go out and follow through with the rest of their life. And it's just amazing. It's it doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter how happy or how high we are or how depressed we are. Nobody could ever have too much happiness. This is something that we all need, and it's so simple, and it can immediately change how you're feeling and snap you out of a funk or make you feel even better. So if you're here watching this, or someone who could be happier, I would love to help them with this, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of this, and it's awful. It's awful. If you want to go on this journey with me, I would be delighted to help you. So I'm here to teach you to be wild and free and have fun. And it's cool. It's so cool because it's on the internet. So it's so amazing. You don't even have to let me know that you're taking my class. You don't even have to let me know that you're listening to the podcast. I just want it all to be out there for anybody who wants it. And I hope you sign up for my course. I hope you subscribe to my podcast. And because you can never have too much happiness. No matter who you are, wherever you are, you can never have too much happiness. I don't think anyone would ever say they had too much. Anyway, some people wait for the storm to pass, and other people choose to dance in the rain. The world needs to see you shine. I hope you sign up for my class and subscribe to the Let Yourself Sparkle podcast. And thanks so much for listening to my story. Bye.